Before I get into this video, just remember to follow me on Twitter. People keep telling me I should plug my Twitter more, so yeah, check that out, at Jackson Kruger. The link is in the description, but anyways, back to your regularly scheduled video. Okay, let's talk about Eddie Jackson for a second, and some people might be a bit confused, saying, what do you mean, what happened to Eddie Jackson? He's still playing for the Bears, he was a Pro Bowler in 2019, but if you really look into it, things were not great, especially last season. If you look right here, these are the last 4 seasons, or I guess all 4 seasons for Eddie Jackson in terms of his Pro Football Focus rating, going from most recent is at the top, and his rookie year is all the way at the bottom. So, it was solid, okay, in year 1 and year 3, awesome in year 2, and not so good in year 4. That put him at 63rd in the league according to safeties. And listen, I get that Pro Football Focus isn't everybody's thing, but it's still a little bit discouraging. And if you want to look at his regular numbers, those aren't spectacular either. Back in 2018, when he was an All-Pro, he gave up a passer rating against of 54.9. He had 6 interceptions and only gave up a catch 54.5% of the time that he was targeted. However, last year, that passer rating against went all the way up to 139. He didn't have a single interception, and his reception percentage against went all the way up to 76.3. So, passer rating, not only did it double, it pretty much multiplied by 2.5. It was that high, and his reception percentage up over 20%. So those numbers are shocking. So let's get into the film. Let's talk about what went wrong. What's going on? Why did this happen? What is the issue? And why did he go from being maybe the best safety in football to barely a starter? What's going wrong? Well, let's start off with a play like this. So this is in 2018. We're going to start off the film study talking about what went really well. And the best way I could describe Eddie Jackson's game is, in the Vic Fangio scheme, a lot of what it is if you're playing cover 3, you want the safety to play very far deep, be very cautious, be very patient. If you're playing cover 2, then, or, 2 safeties deep, whatever the coverage actually is, then you want your safety to play a lot more aggressive. That's typically how Vic Fangio likes to have his safeties play. It's not Fangio specific, but it is very effective. So on this play, that is happening. It's zone coverage. Eddie Jackson is the free safety on this play, so he's covering the middle of the field in this cover 3. And, cover 3 basically means there's one safety deep. The other 2 quote-unquote deep areas are getting covered by cornerbacks. And then you have a receiver who's going to run a go route towards the sidelines. So since it's far away from Eddie Jackson, this is a throw that you could think about making. However, right when this play starts, you're going to notice that, again, Eddie Jackson playing very far deep. Notice he's all the way on the Bears side of the field at this point. This ball was snapped at the 28-yard line. So he's 30 yards past the line of scrimmage already and giving over 10 yards of cushion. So again, this is what you want to do. And he is kind of this center fielder type safety, where now at this point it's not really open. I don't know why this throw was being made, but that's besides the point. Watch what Jackson can do. He is going to be able to get over there and make the catch, and I do wonder if he wasn't as far back to begin with, maybe he's now having to backpedal. He can't move over as quickly. He backpedaled a little bit, but he didn't have to backpedal as much before this play, before the throw was made, is what I'm saying. He was much easier able to twist his hips and go, and was in better position, and a lot of that is just how Fangio will have his safeties play. You also have something like this. So what's going to happen on this play is this is going to be a 2 safety deep coverage, which is, again, Fangio will throw both in there. This time it's 2 safeties deep. Jackson is covering the one closer towards the bottom of the screen, so bottom right corner of the screen, that's where he's covering, and watch what happens. So, as you see, Jackson is playing a bit more aggressive. He's a little bit further in than some teams will have their safeties play when there's 2 safeties deep, and he's not going to be afraid to go even more further in if he sees that he has a chance to do so. So, he sees Cousins is getting ready to make this throw, and so Jackson is going to play aggressive, because again, that Fangio scheme, he wants you to get interceptions. That's what he, likes, and it makes sense. It's a very effective scheme for Fangio, and it has been for some time. And as you see, Jackson is going to, in fact, step in front and get that interception. Stephon Diggs barely even tries to make a tackle there, and Jackson gets a pick six. It was not his only pick six of the season. He actually had multiple pick sixes. So that's a lot of what he did well, right? Is you had the Fangio scheme that has him kind of often in good position, and he's that center fielder type. See ball, get ball. He did a great job of that. However, now we got to go over here. So now let's talk about 2020. What were some of the issues that would arise from that? Well, there hasn't been as much pressure, which I do think matters because guys aren't throwing the ball as quickly now. You're having a little bit more time to make this throw. So in this situation where, again, a similar spot, you see the zone that Eddie Jackson is supposed to cover. Again, Eddie Jackson knows what he's best at is playing aggressive. And so once this play starts, Jackson isn't necessarily, running over immediately, but he's playing aggressive in the sense of he's hoping that there's a cut early so that way he can try and jump the route. That's what he wants to have happen. You look at the safety who's on the other side of the field. He's currently like 7 yards further deep than Jackson is. So Jackson is hoping for things to work out here, and that's not necessarily going to be the case because since this is a go route, I mean, Jackson's just going to get completely burned right here, and it's not really a speed thing necessarily. I mean, it is a little bit, plenty of guys can get burned by Calvin Ridley. It happens. But I do think it's worth mentioning that Jackson isn't exactly like a 4.3 guy. The last time he was clocked in running a 40 was 4.53. That was in college. He did not run a combine time. So you would think maybe he's faster now, but also at the same time, you would wonder maybe that time was a little bit, inflated or I guess deflated to make him look better, so I don't know. But nevertheless, there were a couple instances of Jackson getting burned like that with speed. That did happen. There's something like this, so this time he's going to be in a free safety role. It's not really so much what the main thing I talked about where, he plays cautious, he plays deep. I have noticed, one thing I will bring up is I have noticed he typically is a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage now than he was with Fangio. So I wonder if that's a Pagano versus Fangio difference. Is Pagano wants his safeties a little bit closer in. Seems like Fangio likes the idea of him being able to be that true center fielder, and that's something that, with a new defensive coordinator coming in, I wouldn't be shocked to see him go a little bit further deep. But that's not really what I'm bringing up right here. This is a simple play. You have Tennessee who's going to, run play action, have a receiver run over in the middle. Jackson's covering the middle of the field deep. That's how it works. And right when this play starts, it is going to work out very well. And I would maybe try to criticize somebody and say, hey, you have to know this is coming at some point. Be a little bit better. But personally, I'd probably put that more on the corner, not Jackson. I think Jackson's doing a fine job. He's the safety. He has to be the last line of defense. The issue is, if you're going to beat a safety who's the last line of defense, you have to be able to make a tackle. And watch how, this tackle is just not going to be made, and that's a big deal. I don't like safeties who can't make tackles. And I'm not saying he can't make tackles, but it's certainly a weakness in his game. He is not a guy who is out there for his tackling ability. And to me, it's a big deal when a safety can't make a tackle because they lost 20 plus yards on that play simply because of that missed tackle. If a corner misses a tackle, it's not going to give up that many yards. But when a safety misses a tackle, it just gives up way more yards. He's missed over 15% of his attempted tackles in his career. That's just an insanely high number. It just is, and it needs to be lower. And I also should mention that that's been a thing his entire career. That didn't just start, last year. That was a thing even in 2018 when he was dominant. So it's a concern. But again, what he's there for is his coverage. However, I would say, I don't know how good he is at coverage when he's not getting put in the right situation because of a good play call by Vic Fangio. So like right here, for example, what's going to happen is that it's going to be zone coverage, and you see the area where Jackson is going to cover. This is a prevent defense situation right here, and it makes sense. This is just given the situation, you should be playing prevent defense. Currently, the situation is that it's the fourth quarter, it's 4th down and 18, only 4 minutes left, a 12-point game. So it makes sense for them to be playing prevent defense, but watch what happens. So, as you see, Jackson is going to be patient, and eventually he sees a guy who he should be able to cover. So, again, the ball's going to get thrown. You could argue maybe he needs to find a way to make this play, but watch what he's going to do. He completely misreads it moving in, which allows the receiver to go up behind him and make the catch. That was just a quite frankly, just a horrible play by Eddie Jackson. That's what it was, and it's a play that you would like to see him not be making. And if you're going to be a all-pro safety, you can't be getting burned like that. I want to bring up this little note right here. This is from a Bleacher Report article talking about, I wanted to see what was he thought of going into the draft, because, even if we want to be critical of some of the stuff he's done these past couple of years, and really every year outside of one, you can still, I think, fairly make the argument that, hey, a solid, even if he ends up just being the 60th best safety, that's still worth a 4th round pick. And let's talk a little bit about why he was drafted in the 4th round in the first place. This said, a broken leg suffered midway through the 2016 season shut down Jackson. He hasn't been able to perform in any agility or speed work since. Jackson was on a defense loaded with NFL talent and a great scheme, which overinflated his value and his production. His instincts when asked to cover and read offense are below average. He's a center fielder chasing fly balls. Jackson is a finesse player without great physicality at the point of attack and has little interest in getting physical with blockers or ball carriers. He tore his ACL in the spring of 2014, but played 11 games after returning. I mean, it feels a little bit, honestly, like 2018 Eddie Jackson. It just does. I'm sorry. That's just kind of how it feels, right? He's a center fielder chasing fly balls. It's the perfect analogy of him. And with a great defense around him, he can really use those tools to the best and use the skill set perfectly. But my question is, I worry that it's not just a scheme thing. I think to some degree it probably is, but I worry that he kind of needs to be in that perfect defense around him to really thrive. And this wasn't just the case in, college, because we've seen it in 2018 now in the NFL as well. So there's reasons to be a little bit concerned about that kind of thing. Not to mention, a few of his interceptions in 2018 were luck-based interceptions, and that was a big part of his game, was getting those picks. So, I don't know. My hope is that the scheme, getting him to play a little bit, further deep when he's playing free safety and cover 3, stuff like that. My hope is that that'll change things, that'll make him better. But I don't know how much you can really change. I really don't. I would bet that he's closer to going to be 2020 Eddie Jackson in 2021 than being 2018 Eddie Jackson in 2021. But I hope I'm wrong, because he's an exciting player to watch. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you agree? Is there something I'm missing? Let's continue the dialogue there. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.